तो हम लोगों ने वीक लॉ ऑफ लार्ज नंबर्स, स्ट्रॉन्ग लॉ ऑफ लार्ज नंबर्स देख लिया था. दिस इज नॉट अ लॉन्ग लेक्चर. It only includes central limit theorem as a revision kind of thing, so that you can understand once again. So what is central limit theorem? You have already seen that if there is a sequence of random variables xn, then we define Sn, which is summation of xi, I from 1 to n. Then we see that Sn minus expected Sn divided by square root of variance Sn converges to standard normal distribution. That is basically central limit theorem. So there is a Lindbergh-Levy form of CLT, so which says that let Xn be a sequence of independent and identically distributed random variables, that is IID random variables, with variance sigma square which is finite. This is the condition which is required, that variance must be finite, and a common mean mu. Then if we define Sn is equals to summation xj, j from 1 to n goes from 1 to up to infinity, then for every x in real line, this limit n tends to infinity, probability of that Sn minus n mu divided by root n sigma less than or equal to x. That means the distribution function of Sn minus n mu upon root n sigma. We are talking about the distribution function, and then we are taking limit. This is nothing but limit n tends to infinity, probability. You can, if you divide this quantity by n, numerator and denominator, then Sn upon n converges to convert in xn bar. This will become mu, and this will become sigma by root n less than or equal to x, and this comes out to be 1 upon root 2 pi minus infinity to x e to the power minus half u square du. If you see it carefully, this is nothing but the CDF of standard normal distribution. That means distribution function of normal 0 1 random variable. So what we are saying that xn bar minus mu divided by sigma by root n, this random variable converges to standard normal random variable in law. Example. So in this condition we have to only verify whether variance is finite or not. So if let x1 x2 dot x this be as IID random variables with common probability mass function, probability that x1 is equals to k is equals to p 1 minus p to the power k varies from 0 1 to infinity. So clearly this is a geometric distribution and p lies between 0 and 1. Then we know that expected x1 is nothing but q by p, variance x1 is nothing but q by p square, where q is nothing but 1 minus p. So using above theorem, because we have IID random variables and variance is finite, we can apply Lindbergh-Levy central limit theorem, which says that probability that Sn minus n times mu divided by this comes out to be sigma into root n. So what is sigma? Sigma is square root of q by p square. So this comes out to be square root of nq, and p is here. This is p less than or equal to x, which converges to capital phi x, which is the CDF of standard normal random variable. Then we have Lyapunov central limit theorem, in which we do not require independent and identically distributed random variable. It only requires independent random variables. There is no need of identical random variables. So the statement of the theorem is let xn be a sequence of independent random variables with mean of xk is equals to mu k, variance of xk is equals to sigma k square, and we find that expected of modulus of xk minus mu k to the power 2 plus delta is finite. That means we are saying that 2 plus delta central moment about mean is finite for some delta positive. Let Sn square is summation k from 1 to n sigma k square, which is nothing but, if you see it carefully, this is the variance of capital Sn. Then it again says that summation k from 1 to n xk minus mu k divided by Sn this summation k from 1 to n xk becomes Sn. This summation k from 1 to n mu k becomes expected Sn, and this Sn is nothing but standard deviation of capital Sn, which is square root of variance. So this random variable will converge to standard normal random variable in log as n goes to infinity, provided, see, in previous theorem there was IID and the condition was that variance should be finite. Now we do not have IID, but the now condition becomes this: limit n tends to infinity 1 upon Sn to the power 2 plus delta summation k from 1 to n expected value of modulus of xk minus mu k to the power 2 plus delta. This limit must be 0 for some delta, and delta is lying between 0 and 1 with inclusion. Now you see, we were assuming that this expression is finite for some delta positive, and now here we are restricting our delta from 0 to 1. The reason behind it, if you consider delta greater than 1 in proof, we are not going to prove it, but if you consider in proof delta is greater than 1, then that case will be converted into the case where delta is equals to 1. So delta greater than 1 case is same as in proof the case of delta is equals to 1. So we are only considering that this. But most of the examples, when we want to find this limit, usually delta is equals to 1 will work. That means 1 upon Sn to the power 3. That means 1 upon Sn cube will work. And here also this expected value of mod xk minus mu k cube will work in most of the cases. So we will first find out for delta is equals to 1. This condition is known as Lyapunov condition. Then we have Lindenberg-Feller central limit theorem, which is the generalized one, and the previous two theorems are actually the special cases of this. So what it says that let xn be a sequence of independent random variables with expected xk is equals to mu k, variance xk is equals to sigma k square, which is finite, and fk be the distribution function of random variable xk. So again, the main condition is independence. Independence is there, variances are finite. Then Sn minus expected Sn divided by square root of variance Sn, which can be written as summation k from 1 to n xk minus mu k divided by small sn. This will converge to z in log, where z is nothing but normal 0 1 random variable. And this limit n tends to infinity maximum over k less than or equal to n sigma k divided by Sn is 0. If these two conditions hold, then it holds if and only if this single condition holds. Bn epsilon is 1 upon Sn square sigma k from 1 to n integral of mod xk minus mu k greater than or equal to epsilon Sn and x minus mu k whole square dfk x goes to 0. That means now what we have these two conditions and this one condition. So these two conditions, if these two conditions holds, then this one condition hold, and if this one condition holds, then these two will hold. So these are if and only if conditions. If I focus on first and this condition, then it will give us central limit theorem. This second condition is known as Feller condition, and this last is known as Lindenberg condition. That's why the theorem names Lindenberg-Feller central limit theorem. So this is a somewhat complicated condition, but you can find out in some example if there is this kind of integral. If you can find out this integral and this integral converges to 0, then central limit theorem will hold. So there are two remarks: the Lindenberg-Levy central limit theorem and the Lyapunov central limit theorem, that was the first two, follow as a simple corollary to the Lindenberg-Feller theorem, that is the last one. And second is, if xn's are set of independent Bernoulli trials with probability of success p in each trial, then variance of xn, you know that this is nothing but p1 minus p, which is finite. So if you are taking independent Bernoulli trials and success probability P is fixed, that means they are IID. And if they are IID and their variance is finite, that means you can apply first theorem, which is Lindeberg-Levy central limit theorem, and it will give you Sn minus Np upon a square root of Npq converges to Z, which is normal 0, 1. And this was the theorem which was proved by De Moivre and Laplace. So this is known as De Moivre-Laplace central limit theorem. So we will discuss one example. Let xn be a sequence of independent random variables and probability of xk is equals to k to the power alpha, which is equals to probability of xk is equals to minus k to the power alpha is equals to half. That means xk is taking two values, k to the power alpha and minus k to the power alpha, with equal probability. You can easily find out that mu k, which is expected xk, is 0. Sigma k square, which is variance xk, will be expected xk square minus expected xk whole square, but expected xk is 0, so it will be only this, which comes out to be k to the power alpha. And now we will find expected value of xk minus mu k to the power 3. That means you can see that we are going to use this condition, and for this condition we are finding expected value of xk minus mu k to the power 2 plus delta, and we are taking delta is equals to 1. So we are finding this, which comes out to be k to the power 3 alpha. If you take the summation over this, it comes out to be k to the power summation k from 1 to n k to the power 3 alpha. As we have seen in weak law of large number and strong law of large numbers lecture, that we can find out this summation using this approximation, which is integral of 0 to n x to the power 3 alpha dx plus Rn. When for large n, this Rn becomes 0 and it will be approximated by 0 to n x to the power 3 alpha dx for large n, and which comes out to be n to the power 3 alpha plus 1 divided by 3 alpha plus 1 for large n. And now Sn square, which is nothing but summation k to the power alpha, this can also be approximated using this concept, and it comes out to be n to the power 2 alpha plus 1 divided by 2 alpha plus 1 for large n. Then we will find this limit, and this limit comes out to be this, and after some mathematical calculations you will have this expression. Now this is a constant term, these are the constant terms, and what you have n to the power minus 1 by 2. Clearly if n goes to infinity, then negative power of n will converge to 0. So this limit comes out to be 0. So using Lyapunov central limit theorem, we can say that this xn of random variables holds CLT. But the problem is this Sn square. We found that Sn square comes out to be this, n to the power 2 alpha plus 1 upon 2 alpha plus 1. But Sn square is actually the expression for variance, and variance cannot be negative, so it must be positive. So this condition must hold, that this n to the power 2 alpha plus 1 divided by 2 alpha plus 1 must be positive, and it will give us 2 alpha plus 1 greater than 0, which is actually alpha greater than minus half. So that means for this example, central limit theorem will hold if alpha is greater than minus half. There are many examples, and I have discussed only one example. So this was about central limit theorem.